Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel, and welcome to another Friday night stream, which I'm trying out title-wise here. Night School with the Prof. I don't know. Doesn't really roll off the tongue. Doesn't have a pithy little ring to it, but it works. It's descriptive, right? Night School. It's part of the whole theme. I guess I'm always thinking with Big Al's judgment. He's so flippin' picky. If he's here, he'll admit it. When I first told him that I was going to start a channel, and I said my name is I think I'm just going to call it like Professor Geek, he said, "You can do better." That's how, if it's not alliterative and totally zinging off the wall in some way, yeah. So I don't know, we'll see. Night School with the Profs, not bad. There have been worse titles, but welcome to the chat here. Got a couple of things to talk about tonight. We'll get into in a moment, but just wanted to go ahead and go live and vamp a bit, see how you guys are doing. Well, people come in and get the notification and whatnot. But first up, I do see my dear Sound Engraver is here with me. So wonderful to have you there. Team Ghost Planet, aka Melissa Harris and Sons 4.0. Great to have you there, as well as Nathaniel Zalozball. Horizon Talker, welcome. Says, hope you weren't optimistic about yet another soulless reboot of a show you loved. B5 isn't one of my touchstones, so I dodged a bullet on this one, but I definitely feel your pain. I love Babylon 5. You guys, I haven't talked about it quite recently, but I have talked about it. Every time someone brings up some stupid thing like Battlestar Galactica, I'm like, yeah, no, Babylon 5. Every time people cock on incessantly about, remember Star Trek The Next Generation, Star Trek Picard, shut up, Babylon 5. I'm just a huge Babylon 5 person, and we'll talk about it. I'm getting into it early. We'll talk about it. But there's this reboot that's happening, so we'll get into that. But welcome there, Horizon Talker. Cedriz Moss. Miguel Espinoza says, and we're back in business. I'm so glad to have you back on a regular stream, Prof. I'm happy to be back too. Here's the thing. I mentioned this a little bit last night on the book study stream. I really, truly did mean to stream last Friday night. I really did. And it wasn't an issue with schedule or anything. It was just the fact that I didn't have anything to talk about. I've been honest on my channel that I'm not here just to beat the dead horse of certain subjects, or to make sure I tack on got to do my video on the latest hot topic or whatever, if it's not something I care about. Also, I've been very open about, guys, the answer to the fight against, receiving all these garbage stories and these agenda-driven stories where it's agenda over story in terms of priorities and whatnot. The answer to it is to stop giving it attention. To some degree, you do have to talk about it. You do have to call it out. So like with the He-Man Masters of the Universe Revelation thing, that deserved to be called out. And even then, if you go back and look at my videos, I wasn't just parroting the same thing everybody else said. That drives me crazy. And, hey, YouTubers do it. They've got their channels. It's their free choice. They've got every right to do it if they want, and that's fine. But it just seems disingenuous to me when someone's like, "Oh, I've got to do my take on the latest geek news," and okay, are you adding anything to it? Are you saying anything different, bringing anything new from your perspective, or are you, just drumming up the attention more? And so Masters of the Universe Revelation needed to be called out on various different levels, and I did, and I made some bank off that. That was a sweet little algorithm there for a while to ride. But then I stopped. I'm like, it gets to a point where it's like, okay, now it's just giving it more attention than it deserves. And I'm against Disney Star Wars. That means it doesn't get the spotlight of every little thing it does. If I think that something like The Bad Batch is a wrong move, then I'm sure as heck not going to sit here and do a review of every episode and just tell you how bad it is. No, that's pretty transparent. People can see through that. So yeah, I just didn't have anything to talk about last week, and I was trying to think of some things, but I just didn't want to be having a flimsy stream with not much substance. But I've got some stuff to talk about this week. Some things happened, and then some other things occurred to me with this second part of the stream tonight that I'll go into as well. that is just a thing in culture and in storytelling right now that I think needs to be called out. So thanks for your enthusiasm, though. It's good to be back. Let's see. Let's see. Francisco, welcome. Cal 48, welcome. Oh yeah, Nathaniel said no intro this time. I don't know what I'm doing. I should have put the intro in. Last night I didn't. I jumped right into the book study stream. But you're right, the intro. You know what? We need the intro. Yeah, I'm just gonna stop right now and play the intro because we need the intro. I can't. No, there's no not doing the intro. We need to play that intro. So let's do it.
I'm so tired of people saying that it's just a movie, it's just a comic book, it's just a TV show. No, it's not. Stories are the building blocks of our culture, of ourselves, even of our own psychology. We are a product of the stories we tell ourselves about our own past and the experiences on a daily basis, but also the stories that we choose to spend time with. What types of values, our feelings, or whatever are they promoting? What types that we like to spend our time around? They're going to shape us. They're going to shape our personality and character, and they're going to shape our perception of the world and the acts and behaviors that we put out into the world. And people don't understand that. They go, it's just a movie. It's just this. I can like and promote whatever I want. Well, of course you can, but you should pay attention to the responsibility that you have.
Consume stories responsibly.
As a member of society, as a human being, responsibility to yourself.
Consider the consequences.
You need some balance. You need some certain criteria that is going to make sure you're promoting the right kind of works, or at least have thought through the type of work that this or that story is going to do in our culture, and then make your own decision whether or not that's something you want to support.
Consume stories responsibly. Consider the consequences. Consume stories responsibly. There we go. Now it's a stream. Now we can go ahead and start. Thank you for that reminder. But yes, consume stories responsibly, which is exactly what I was describing a second ago before I started the video, when I was saying why I don't just review any content or whatever, or make sure that I prioritize the integrity of my channel over the YouTube algorithm. And sometimes that means not giving certain stories attention, calling out the nonsense of it, however much that's required, but then turning your back against it, on it. So yeah, there's that. Welcome, Tom Spiegel, Matthew Flynn. Good to see you there. Oh, Tom Spiegel, yeah, channel member still. Great to see you there. Christian Lapsley. Yeah, we got quite a few people watching now. Good. All right, so people have gotten the notification. We're well into the stream. Christian Lapsley says that intro always gets my nerd engine revving up, as it should. Welcome, AL. Yeah, that intro again. Shout out to Stephen Cruz for doing that for me. It was a stream that I was just going off on. How people recklessly consume stories. And just as people tell you, consume alcohol responsibly or something like that, people don't realize the story is something that you need to consume responsibly. It's not just entertainment. It's not, that's something you do in your free time that doesn't have any repercussions to anything in your life or the world whatsoever. Just do whatever you want over there. No, nothing in life is like that, especially story, because as I allude to in that video, stories shape us individually and as a culture, as a society. And that ultimately comes down to the types of stories that we entertain as a culture and support as a culture, but also just down to individually, what kind of stories you entertain and spend time with. And yeah, people do not understand that. It drives me crazy. I know as I start to talk about the Babylon 5 reboot, the bane of my existence are these idiots who come in. You haven't even seen it yet. Why are you giving a chance? One, you might be good. Can we have a pandemic that targets those people, please? I don't mean to kill them. I just mean, let's alter their brain chemistry. Some sort of virus that gets into their brain and alters it. They are so annoying, especially the ones who go through this nonsense false nobility, instead of criticizing what you don't like, why don't you just, promote what you do like? Because I'm a discerning critical thinker. I'm sorry. Sorry to offend you with my intelligence. It's nonsense. I hate that kind of grates on me so much when I hear that nonsense. And because it's a cop out. It's I don't want to have to do the work of critical thinking. I just want to be just enjoying consuming, oh, you could find something you like about it. No, no, you can't. If it's bad, if there's deal breakers, there are deal breakers there, and it needs to be fought against. Period. Have some morals here. Have some backbone. You know, care about the stories that you consume in the franchises you love. Don't just open wide and gobble anything down in the world. I found something I liked. No, no. So there's my disclaimer to those people. They'll come in anyway. They'll just read the title, and see that I'm being critical and go, why don't you just give it a chance? Anyway, so let's go ahead and talk about Babylon 5. Well, first, I guess we can talk about J. Michael Straczynski too, and then about Babylon 5 in particular, because J. Michael Straczynski, he really is an incredible writer. He's capable of incredible writing. And he's been a part of so many truly iconic franchises. And think about the things he's done. He's written, I grew up before I even knew his name, watching episodes of Masters of the Universe that he'd written, of the original cartoon. He was back there with Paul Dini and those guys writing episodes of that. He was one of the writers to cross over to She-Ra and really have a heavy hand in working on that. He's been a writer of television, movies, comics. Of course, he developed Babylon 5. He's done some other television series. He's done movies. A lot of people don't realize he wrote the script to the original Thor movie. That was Straczynski. He wrote that original script, which was so great. He's done some great things in comics. He's done some wonderful Spider-Man runs, Thor runs, and whatnot. He's a very talented writer who knows his stuff. But we're living in a day and age now where simply because someone's a writer or a creator who's given us really iconic, amazing material in the past, that doesn't mean anything in terms of the new stuff they're going to create now. It doesn't have to, case by case basis. But we're living in a day and age where so many wonderful writers who gave us such amazing material before are just dribbling out nonsense, agenda-ridden garbage now, because that's what the culture's become. That's what the industry's become. When I often say, and people ask me, what do you think it would take to save DC? Or what do you think it would take to save Star Wars? Who could we get in there? Who could we get in there to do it? No one. Absolutely no one. Paul Dini himself could not save the Superman run of comics right now because the industry is against it. The industry won't allow these franchises to be saved. The cancer of ideology has seeped so far and so long and steadily and insidiously into the industry, whether it's comics, movies, television, or whatever, that it's there now. You can't even have your movie, your television show, or anything approved. You can't even get it aired unless you've got these certain number of critical race theory points, and you certain number of feminist points, and it's insane. It's sick. That's why, and people, people just can't handle it. Just can't handle that knowledge. But I've got to consume some new story somewhere, Prof. No, you don't. It's and that's not to say that every single new thing is going to be garbage. I'm not prepared to say that it's 100% impossible for any new thing to make it, because there are different levels of how something's released, right? I mean, independent creators, obviously, independent studios and whatnot, and you might have this or that project which, for whatever reason, kind of flies under the radar of certain things or whatever. It doesn't mean that everything's automatically going to be horrible, but it's it's interesting. Miguel Espinoza, thank you for 2,500 CLP. I think you super chatted before, and I apologize for not remembering what the CLP currency is, but thank you very much for support. Appreciate that. Prof, did you see they cast for the upcoming Super Mario movie? How about Chris Pratt for Mario? Yeah, I saw that. Sound Engraver and I were talking about this the other day. I don't... Even before the Chris Pratt thing, when they say they're going to remake the Mario movie, are they going to do an animated version of it, I think, or whatever? I don't know. I'm just not following it. Well, that's just stupid. Again, leave it alone. You're only going to mess it up, in today's culture already. Just leave it alone. That's my first initial take. So then when I hear Chris Pratt cast as it. I mean, I don't understand, and you help me out. I'm really asking you. I don't understand. What's the real? Why are people so up in arms that Chris Pratt was cast? Now, I don't necessarily like him for the role. I wouldn't have cast him myself, but I don't see how like that's the line. Chris Pratt's the straw that broke the camel's back here for his casting. Is he going to do Mario without the accent? Or I'd understand that. Is he just going to do Mario? Is the Italian accent problematic or something? Maybe I could see that. Is he just going to I don't know, but yeah, I like the Mario games, but I'm more like I'm already leery or against the idea of the movie coming out anyway. So the knowledge of Chris Pratt as cast, it's like, so I just don't understand. But I've seen a lot of people talking about it, so I'd like you guys to tell me. Let's see, I'm seeing some people here in the chat. Nathaniel says it was a very odd casting choice, whereas Tucker says, I think people are just upset that Pratt was cast rather than the video game voice actor who's been doing the role for 25 years. Okay, see, here's some information I just didn't know. Okay. I had no idea that the original voice actor was even still out there. Okay, I can get that. I can start to get that. Now I'm starting to understand some more of the outrage there. If I don't know how old that guy is, but if he's still able to do it, then yeah, that would be a problem. Yeah, I don't have anything against Chris Pratt personally either, Team Ghost Planet. Yeah, I kind of like him in general. Uh, but yeah, but I would understand that if the original voice actor was there. He's certainly, he's the voice of Mario. He's the one you think about when you hear, in the commercials and little clips from the games or whatever. He's the one. So yeah. So yeah, I mean, thanks for the heads up, and thanks for let me know. Miss Miguel here is a follow up to a super chat. Says I actually like the choice of Chris Pratt as Mario in the modern era. There's no way they would accept the Italian accent and would label it as racist. See, I'm a little nah. I'm not willing to accept any non-Italian accent. How is that racist? I get it that it's stupid. The modern era is dumb, and they don't know what racism really is. But he's an Italian. He's a short little Italian plumber. I mean, no, who is it? I know the actor. I'm just blanking on his name. Who played him in the live action movie that they did? Great actor, horrible movie, but great actor. Yeah, I don't think he did an Italian accent. Obviously, he's like a New York Italian or something like that. But yeah, that's just always been the case for Mario. He's got the "It's a me, Mario." He's got that accent. So you can't do it without that. And I couldn't see Chris Pratt just doing Chris Pratt's voice. That'd be ridiculous. But mark my words. This is the way culture is. As soon as the movie gets a trailer, as soon as the movie comes out or whatever, you look to the channels. People who are flipping out about it right now are going to start saying, it's actually good, pretty good. I actually kind of like, because they need to like stuff. They need to like new stuff. They can't handle. They're not strong enough to be discerning. Now I don't know anything about the movie. It's possible that maybe it could fly through the radar, like I was just saying, that occasionally a movie might do or whatever. I feel stupid saying it, but the childish hope in me is hoping against hope that Ghostbusters Afterlife isn't garbage. But you'd be silly, as I've said in videos, you'd be silly just to say, well, I'm just gonna hope for it. I'm gonna be positive. No, you don't have to automatically be negative about it necessarily, but you can say Hollywood doesn't deserve my support. Hollywood has to prove to me now. They have to put the movie out, have it out for they have to prove to you that you should come give this a chance. Gone are the days of, well, I'll just go see it and see what I like. I can't know if it's good or not, whether I see it. No, you can. We're in a day and age long past that nonsense. Hollywood, and with all their bombs and all of their horrible behavior lately, they owe it to us to prove why we should give their nonsense a chance. Any film, even if it looks like it might be good. And so far, like for something like Ghostbusters Afterlife, as far as my knowledge, I'm not following the each and every press release of it. I don't think there's been any kind of release of news lately, but so far, okay, on track to prove it. But you're not there yet. Keep proving it until the film's released. And then I hear it from other people, and I start to see it, and it looks like it checks out. With the things I see about it and read about it and so forth. You've got a lot of work to do, Hollywood. This is what I've said before. People just could not get back to Hollywood, could not get back to kissing Hollywood's butt fast enough after the pandemic and everything. As soon as they theaters opened back up or new movies started to be released again, people just couldn't get back to supporting those new movies fast enough. We had a wonderful opportunity. Hollywood was hurting, that we really could have made them listen to us. Lost opportunity because people just had to go back and give things a chance, or just, I gotta be in the know, I gotta know what that movie's like so I know what people are talking about on Twitter. No. Let's see, got another super chat here. Matthew Flynn, £5, £5. Thank you, Prof. You got to play the intro. Been editing an intro for my upcoming Transformers stream. You can't judge it until you've seen it. I did play the intro, remember? Or I don't know if you were here. I didn't play it at the beginning. And then someone reminded me. I was like, you know what? Yes, let's do that intro. We jumped back in it. So you might have come in at a weird time there. But yeah. Nathaniel says, my beef is that Illumination Studios is animating it. The people behind Despicable Me, Minions, and Sing. Yeah, I can see that being a problem too. Yeah. I don't know. Like I said, a lot of people ask me about it. I love the Mario lore. I really love that. I mean, you gotta love it. It's like Japanese, game developers or whatever create this this video game with an Italian plumber, primarily marketed to ultimately an American audience at some point. I mean, I know it's big in Japan too and everything. It's just I don't know the big history of it, but I just think it's fascinating. And I love how something like that, something so bizarre like that caught on. This fat little Italian plumber becomes a beloved hero that people love so much, not just through those couple of games or whatever. And I know he kind of evolved from Jumpman in the Donkey Kong original Donkey Kong games, so he kind of evolved from that. He wasn't just created from scratch, which I guess Jumpman was more like a construction worker, it seems like, saving Pauline from Donkey Kong or whatever. But with the development of the lore, is Mario games upon Mario games and Donkey Kong games upon Donkey Kong games and whatnot happened. It's cool to see. I'm really I'm fascinated by mythologies as they develop like that and just kind of take on a life of their own, because it happened during a time when the content creators would shape their content based on audience feedback. Now they don't do that at all. Now they say, sit down, shut up, and listen. We're trying to shape you, audience, with our content. That's not the way it should work. Their content should be shaped by the audiences, in terms of reactions. And Mario's a great example of that. Star Wars was a wonderful example of that for the longest time, as were Marvel and DC for the longest time, but that's all gone now. It's all gone now. So yeah, I'm glad that I learned a little bit more about the Mario phenomena here from you guys. It's not something I've cared to follow as much. I'm not going to rush to watch this movie. We don't need a Mario movie. I don't need a Mario movie. Put out another good Mario game. Put out another game like 7 Stars. I haven't followed. I was, I enjoyed the Mario games, but I never followed them religiously or anything. But Sound Engraver, ever since I got the retro box, she's been going through and replaying all the games that she played as a kid, and I really loved watching her play Mario and the 7 Stars. That role-playing RPG kind of storyline was really cool, and it kind of gave me a new appreciation for Mario. You put out another game like that, come on. I don't need a stupid movie, So, anyway. Back to Babylon 5. Back to Straczynski as first, as I was saying. So, going back to what I was saying there, if you can remember, if I can get back on track there. We're in a day and age where it doesn't matter that someone's given us such iconic stories in the past. We're in a day and age where Mark Waid cranks out, agenda-ridden drivel. We're in a day and age where, Kevin Smith himself, who'd given us good stories in the past. What's some of the, Kevin Feige, who presided over just some of the most wonderful films in the world, with that Marvel MCU as it was, is suddenly just turning out drivel, and it's because of the industry. It's because of the industry. So I don't think it's a good enough stance when it comes to the Babylon 5 reboot to sit there and say, well, hey, I'm going to give Straczynski a chance because he's always been good, and he's always, no, we're beyond that point. And listen to the things that Straczynski says about Babylon 5. So first, I've got the article here, and I've got some quotes that Straczynski said, but let me talk briefly about Babylon 5 itself and what made it such an amazing show. It really was revolutionary in its day. It was more ambitious, for a sci-fi series in a day when you had something like Star Trek: The Next Generation, which was developing a lore, of course. And I know that you did have their character arcs grow and build, and they would reference things that happened in the past, but it was also kind of episodic in comparison. In comparison to something like Babylon 5, it was more episodic, even though it was nothing as episodic like, the original series or anything. Um, Babylon 5 came out, and Straczynski thought of it as a novel almost. First season is the introduction. Second season is going to be the rising action. Third season is going to be the conflict, the climax or whatever, or I forget exactly how it goes. Fourth season, and the fifth season that he didn't even know if he was going to do or not, it ended up being the denouement. And he's got the you do know that as you follow how the series was developed, who he could get to play the different characters, if the studios would even greenlight the next season or not. He did have to develop and adapt his vision for it in certain ways, but it still came out gloriously. I do recommend, if you haven't watched Babylon 5, look up online. There's a certain order you should watch it in, and that includes the movies that came out. That includes the Crusade, that series that came out. So there's a certain order that you should watch even the episodes in, because it enhances the story more. And I did, because I never watched it when it was airing, live or anything. I wasn't into it at that point, but it was over. It's probably like 2004 that I really got into it and watched it all at that point, on DVD and everything. So, so there. Anyway, Straczynski is a big fan of Tolkien. You see a ton of Tolkien influence in his work. Even some of his episodes he wrote of Masters of the Universe back in the day, you saw like, oh, yep, there's the Fellowship. There's the, you see that, not in a way where he's like ripping off Tolkien, but he's constantly homaging it. And Babylon 5 homaged the heck out of Tolkien. Are you serious? That was amazing. He's also, in a lot of his work, his work has been more spiritual than you would expect from Hollywood, even at the time in the 90s and on up into to today. There were a lot of Christian references in Babylon 5 that were really quite amazing, coming from Hollywood and whatnot. So he's a writer with a lot of substance there, and Babylon 5 was wonderful. So everything I've said, you might think, well, why? What's the problem with him doing Babylon 5? Well, first of all, the first mark against it is this is a reboot. Okay, if you remember, it was probably about the time I was getting into it back in the day, 2004 or something like that. I think it was early 2000s when he did or maybe it was a little bit later, 2000s, of the first decade of 2000s. I forget exactly when it came out, but he put out that DVD of the three mini movies that continued the story. So he continued the story of Captain, blanking on her name now, the new captain that were in Babylon 5 in John Sheridan's absence when he went to be the president of the I can't remember her name, but anyway, she had one of the movie's first story. John Sheridan himself had a story that took place before his end, and the guy again from Crusade had a really cool story. Yeah, it was pretty cool. They had some good stuff there. So anyway, he did continuations of it. He says this is just going to be a reboot. He's going to retell the whole story. And one of the defenses he gives for that is he says, let me see if I can find the quote exactly. He says, you have to do a reboot. He says, how do you tell continuing story of our original Londo without the original Veer? Or Jakar? How do you tell Sheridan's story without Delenn, or the story of Babylon 5 without Franklin, Garibaldi, Zach? Because as he's alluding to, there's so many wonderful, amazing actors that really made the show so great have unfortunately passed on at this point. And it's really sad. It's a lot of people have passed on, from the original Sinclair to, Jakar. Jakar was so cool. Yeah. So, okay. That's not a reason. That doesn't mean, so therefore you must reboot it. No. Tell a story in the Babylon 5 universe down the road a bit. That was the genius thing of his arc. And that was what people have been wanting more. When they want a continuation of the story, it doesn't necessarily need to be the next thing Dr. Franklin's doing, the next thing Jakar is doing, or something like that. Tell us what's going on. Tell us, they decommissioned Babylon 5 at the end of the last thing we heard in the series, but tell a story where they want to recommission it. Tell a story where they want to, or build a new one. They'd have to build a new one, but tell a story like that where they're doing something like that. Tell us a further story down in the universe. That would have been wonderful, wonderful. glorious. And then you could even bring back some of the actors, kind of like Next Gen did with the original cast, at some point and stuff like that. That'd be great in their original roles, reprising the original roles. He doesn't want to do that. So what this proves is he's not rebooting the series because he wants to he really would like to do a continuation, but the original cast is not there. That's not why he's doing it. This is why he's rebooting the series. This quote right here, and this is right from him. He's talking on the one hand, he says, doing the show so all the way back then, he says, let me see if I can find it here. In the years since Babylon 5, I've done a ton of other TV shows and movies, adding an equal number of tools to my toolbox, all of which I can bring to bear on one singular question, Straczynski tweeted. If I were creating Babylon 5 today for the first time, knowing what I know now as a writer, what would it look like? How would it use all the storytelling tools and technological resources available in 2021 that were not on hand then? Okay, just that right there, it still doesn't merit redoing a reboot, but you can understand watching Babylon 5, the original series, the effects and everything looks really dated compared to all the effects that we have now. I mean, it looks like 90s computer graphic animation. It's kind of like watching the MTV Spider-Man series with Neil Patrick Harris doing the voice. I mean, the animation and graphics, like, whoa, did you do that on a Windows 95 or something? And it was great in the day. It wasn't cheap in the day or chinching in the day. It's just that we've developed so far along there. So you might be able to say, okay, well, there's something to that. But here's what really gets at it. This is what his real reason for wanting to do this reboot is. Let me see if I can find it again here. Here's it is. How can it be used to reflect the world in which we live and the questions we are asking and confronting every day? Straczynski continues. Fan regularly point out how prescient the show was and is of our current world. It would be fun to take a shot at looking further down the road. Further down the road, meaning today. He wants to comment on the things and the issues of today. Here's the problem, and here's where Straczynski, if you look between the lines, you'll kind of see that he's showing his true colors here. He's always been he's always someone who subscribed to these ideologies. If you watch the Masters of the Universe documentary, a really great documentary that was on, they did a Kickstarter for recently or something like that. I'm forgetting the name of the actual. I've got the DVD in the other room, but he's out there obviously interviewing him for it, and he talks about She-Ra, for example, and he talks about, and he says, She-Ra, and he says the problem was that they wouldn't let him write certain things in the script, like she was never allowed to land a punch on anyone or something like that. She was even more limited in what she could do in terms of her heroics and physicality than He-Man was. So she would, like toss somebody or she was just very limited. And he's, and he's sitting there saying, and it was just a bunch of latent misogyny. It was latent misogyny that wouldn't allow me to do that with a woman. Really? He said some things, and I'll get into some things he said about Wonder Woman in his writing on Wonder Woman too, that make you realize, as great of a writer as Straczynski is, he deeply, profoundly fails to understand archetypes. She-Ra should not fight like He-Man. What even remotely makes you think She-Ra should be able to do everything He-Man did? She's not a phallic woman. She's a heroine. Two completely different archetypes. She should fight differently. She should be showing more heart and more compassion and more. She should be the heroine. Just as He-Man's the paragon, the aspirational paragon, She-Ra is the aspirational heroine. She should be fighting differently. She should do things differently. What's so hard to understand about that? When he did his, it's well written because he's a great writer, but he did a Wonder Woman run that's just so ill-conceived from the ground up. This is before New 52 came about, so long before all the horrible mandated changes from on high came with the DC universe. There'd constantly been this hand-wringing by the feminists, by the new wave feminists, the third wave feminists of the day, about Wonder Woman. Oh, it's so problematic that she runs around in that costume. And can't we just give her pants? Can't we just give her? You'll hear that ridiculous statement over and over again. You'll read statements from women. I think it was Jodi Picoult or another woman writer who took on did a run of Wonder Woman back in the day. And they're like, can we give her some pants? Can we at least take her out of that bustier? Can we do this? No, you can't, because you're an idiot and you don't understand why that's so symbolic. And essential to her character. The suits are symbolic to the characters. They're iconic. They're deeply coded. They don't just, they're not that costume. This costume of Wonder Woman is not the male gaze. That's just all it is. No, that's ridiculous. Straczynski's defense, because what they did, he's working with Jim Lee. Jim Lee was his artist at this point. Tells you all you need to know. So of course Jim Lee puts her in pants and that 90s style jacket. Got to cover her up in every way. She literally did look like, and this was like early 2000s, I think too. She really did look like a 90s X-Men character. And they completely changed her story too. She's like the last. She's cut off from her Amazon sisters, and she's basically a spoiled brat, rebellious daughter, orphan or something like that. It was a horrible, horrible, ill-conceived from the very ground up story of Wonder Woman. And his response, his reaction, his defense for how they changed her costume, he says, Batman and Superman have been changing their costumes, so Wonder Woman should be allowed to accessorize. Did you even think anything through of those words before you said them? First of all, again, this is before New 52. How much had Batman and Superman really changed their costumes? Honestly, never. Simple changes that adapted as the culture changed a little bit. Batman would go from either blue or black, but always with the gray, always with the cowl, always with the trunks, always with the bat type cape. Superman, the boots developed a little bit, the S shield developed a little bit, but the main iconic design of Batman and Superman's characters, their costumes, remained steady because they were iconic in the public consciousness. They remained right up until the New 52, when Dan DiDio and Jim Lee, like a bunch of idiots, mandated the change. Because they wanted the change. It wasn't the public wanting it. They wanted to see the change. So they mandated the change in their costumes. And this is even before that happened. So what changes are you even talking about, Straczynski? Accessorizing? Wonder Woman is an icon. She's beyond accessorizing. What is that even? It was just such a ridiculous comment, a ridiculous statement. He's stated many times, he's shown many times that he does not understand the archetypes. He's a wonderful writer, and he understands writing and story, but he doesn't understand the archetypes that these characters embody. But we're living in a day and age now in which he would be given the freedom to completely disregard any of those archetypes and to write straight to the agenda, to write straight to the messaging he wants to get across, where he wouldn't have to even concern himself with story. He's talking about one thing I forgot to mention a minute ago too is, how is it not disrespectful to continue telling a story in that continuity without a Jakar or a Dr. Franklin and so forth? How is that disrespectful? But it's not disrespectful to just reboot the whole thing and recast them with younger, hipper actors. That's more disrespectful to me by a long run. That's ridiculous. This is not a good thing. Again, that's what he says. How can it be used to reflect the world in which we live and the questions we are asking and confronting every day? Straczynski continued. Fans regularly point out how prescient the show was and is our current and is of our current world, and that's true. The Babylon 5 show. Here's the thing, it was heavily libertarian. I'm sorry, hate me if you want. I'm not trying to label a show in any sort of political, I'm not talking about the Libertarian Party. It was heavily, heavily pushing individual freedom. I guarantee you that would not be the case whatsoever for a Babylon 5 today, because we know the ideologues of Hollywood, it's all about trust, obey, the ideology. Whether that's in line with whatever administration's in power at the time or not, trust, obey the ideology. That's what it's going to be a slap in the face in every way to the original. It's going to bear about as much resemblance as the Battlestar Galactica reboot did to the original, and that was none whatsoever. Straczynski is again, like I said, he's done so much amazing things, and I on the one hand, I'm such a fan of a lot of things he's given us, but I've seen the things, I've heard the things he said, and I've seen the way the industry's going enough to know that this is a horrible move. He's even pretty abrupt and like, I mean, I'm so far beneath his notice or whatever. But if he ever saw this stream or whatever, I could easily see him just slamming me in a tweet or something like that. He's very uh, spiteful. In fact, there was one instance on a tweet one time ages ago. I think it was about the new She-Ra. I think it was about the new She-Ra, like when it first came out, that Netflix one. Somebody tagged me and him because I'd done the heroin videos or whatever, asking a question. Well, I didn't want to leave a fan because this is back when I was on Twitter and it wasn't just for my personal use or whatever. It was for the channel, and I didn't want to leave a fan without an answer to the question. So I just answered the question in terms of my thoughts on that. He tried to totally take me down. No, that's blah 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 or whatever. He was just throwing his Straczynski weight around or whatever. Um, he is an ideologue, guys. He is an ideologue. As are a lot of the writers that gave us great stuff before. But once again, the industry is no longer policing them. The industry is no longer editing them and making sure that the stories come out without that nonsense. The industry's all for the ideology. Screw the story, bring on the ideology. That's what the industry wants. And that's what's going to happen with Straczynski. Absolutely. This is a horrible, plus it's coming out. Can we just talk about this for the last thing? CW. How does the name of the CW network inspire anyone with even a remote ray of hope? The CW, Batwoman, the new Texas Walker Texas Ranger. Look at what they've done to the DC shows on that channel. How they've all devolved into nothing but ideology, platforms for ideology. I defy anyone to come up with reasons why this might be good in any way. Every single thing about this is against any level of critical thinking and discernment. It's ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Matthew Flynn, thank you very much for £5 against it. Prof, I know Russell T. Davis is coming back as showrunner for Doctor Who. He's the one who made Doctor Who a cultural icon years ago. I didn't know anything about that. I don't really know anything about Doctor Who, really. I'm just not a Doctor Who fan, but I do know that for fans of the original, it went to garbage, obviously, with Doctor Who, whammon, and all that nonsense. So hey, that's good news. I don't know anything about Doctor Who, but if that's the case, then great, So yeah. I guess that's really all I have to say about the Babylon 5 one. It really deeply disturbs me because I love the original so much, and there's so many ways that he could have given us continuations of the story. And this nonsense defense that, oh, well, the cast died, there's no way I could continue that story. Yet, are you kidding me? That story, as wonderful as that cast was, as truly amazing and glorious as that cast was, they didn't define the Babylon 5 story of the universe. You could have told continuation stories. You could have, any number of ways you could keep doing that. We could, where are the Babylon 5 novels? There have been some, definitely, but we never got the extent that, like, the Star Wars novels happened or whatever, and we could have. The Babylon 5 audiences would have eaten that up, but they just didn't exist to the extent, So, yeah. Oh, good to see you, Edward. Yeah. I noticed you weren't on Messenger anymore, Edward, but good to see you here. Nathaniel Lozbus says the CW, oh joy, a sci-fi teeny bopper. They haven't brought that genre down to that level yet, have they? Exactly. Owen Lister, oof, the CW. Now you want to talk about cheap effects and the DC shows that came out. Yeah, I don't really. I'll take your word for it. I don't really watch shows and judge them for the effects or anything. I'm a story guy. I'll excuse and forgive any level of visuals, no matter what they are, if the story's there. And those CW shows started out with decent stories, but again, as Berlanti got more freedom, they started to devolve into his ideology, and that's what they all reflect now. Every single one of them, they're garbage. So, yep. Miguel Espinosa for another super chat there. He says, is there any LP, any intellectual property you love, that they haven't rebooted, ruined? PD Chilean peso. Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you clarifying that. Yeah, thanks for the the denomination of money there. Yeah. Well, thank you. I don't even know what that is compared to the dollar or whatever, but it's very much appreciated. Thank you for the support. Any intellectual properties that they haven't yet ruined? Oh, sure. Yeah. They're falling. They're few and far between now. Um, and they're going to get ruined. Like Rob Zombie's going to redo the Monsters, and I refuse to believe that he's going to do anything good there. I mean, it's hard to say. Nothing's coming to mind right now. I know there are things they have yet to touch now, but now that you asked me the question, I'm kind of blanking on it a little bit. I mean, Thundercats, He-Man, G.I. Joe. Yeah, they Hollywood is scavenging. They're desperately scavenging. It used to be they thought that old IPs brought in a ready-made fandom, a fan base. So it was a sure bet, a safer bet. And for a while that was true, numbers-wise. Now it's to the point where on top of that, they bring in a ready-made, not fan base, not paying fan base, because that's not so much what they're concerned about. They bring in a ready-made audience to be preached to. That's what they're really concerned about. The creators behind these shows. Let me use the character of She-Ra to preach my gender ideology because it was so problematic the way she was portrayed and everything. Let me preach my gender ideology through by totally crapping on all these characters that people like. Final Fantasy fan for $9.99. Thank you very much. So the reason why they chose CW is because they're desperate for more audiences, i.e. teens. They will accept anything and everything. Sounds like they have a slave mentality. Yeah, I'd agree. Definitely would agree. Yep. So if I Edward said Back to the Future is safe for now. For now, that's the operative word, right? We'll see. We will see. I really wish they'd have just left Ghostbusters alone. The video game, that was Ghostbusters 3. That's all I needed. And they continued in the comics for a while before they started bringing in the nonsense 2016 Ghost Women Busters, which was garbage. But yeah, just leave it alone. Leave it all alone. Yeah. Oh, Sound Engraver says maybe Final Fantasy is the thing that hasn't been touched. Maybe, yeah. I never really got into Final Fantasy. I'm watching Sound Engraver actually right now play through the original, like old NES or Super NES and whatnot Final Fantasies, and getting the story from the beginning, which is kind of cool. My only touch with Final Fantasy, and I guess this would be another intellectual property, is Kingdom Hearts. Loved Kingdom Hearts because I loved classic Disney. And at the time when it came out and it was bridging Final Fantasy with classic Disney, those games were wonderful, absolutely wonderful. I haven't played the 3 yet, just never got around to it. I will though, but if they ever do anything more like that, that's ruined. They're gonna, they just can't help it. They cannot help pumping ideology into everything that comes out of Hollywood, or everything that comes out, current day, story wise from big companies. Absolutely all over the place. So let me jump into the second topic I have here. And if we think of anything or something else occurs to me about the Babylon 5, I can move into that. Or if somebody has a question that spawns something, we'll do that. But I do want to talk briefly, at least, about this second part of my topic. I've got the picture there on the thumbnail of the Mary Jane Watson from the Spider-Man video games. And I talked a little bit about that a couple weeks ago when I did a live stream, the problem of her in that game. As cool as that game is, amazing as that game was, she's just such a blight upon it. Its handling of her and whatnot. Over the last week, when Sound Engraver was off visiting her sister and everything, and I was just left desolate without my Sound Engraver, one of the things I did in my downtime was to finally get around to watching Daredevil season 3. I know, it's been out for ages. What the heck is your problem, Prof? Why did you wait so long? Honestly, the reason was, if you remember, by the time Daredevil season 3 was even released, it was already common. Now they'd already released that they were not continuing the Netflix universe at all. They canceled Luke Cage after ending season 2 on a horrible cliffhanger. Just a horrid cliffhanger. Is riddled with issues that Iron Fist 2 season 2 was. It was a really crappy season in a lot of ways. They did at least end on a cliffhanger that you kind of wanted to know what was going on, and then they just canceled that. You'll never get another Defenders or anything like that. But they had already filmed Daredevil season 3, which they said really did complete his arc. So I love the fact that, at least, because I dearly love the character Daredevil. He's a Catholic like I am. He's a wonderful, cathartic, motivational hero. I gravitate toward him more than I do somebody like Spider-Man. I love Spider-Man too, but Spider-Man's like the go-to for a lot of people when it comes to cathartic motivational heroes. For me, it's Daredevil. Really is just a phenomenal character in the comics and whatnot. And I love the first two seasons and his participation in the Defenders, in terms of the Netflix show. So I really wanted to watch season 3, but it was going to be like after watching it, that's it. I wasn't going to get any new good Daredevil content. And anyway, I finally watched it. That's why it took so long to watch it. And it's good. I like season 3. I did. I like the things happen, but it's not perfect. There were some issues. Um, One of the issues, for example, is maybe some of you will share this critique, is that the ending, the last episode, I like what happened. I like how he overcomes Fisk in the end. I like the reasoning for it. I like how it plays out, but it's rushed. It's way too rushed. The space between the next to last episode and the last episode, everything kicks into high gear, and the pacing is just ridiculous. It suddenly it doesn't quite feel right. The reason the pacing is a problem is because of another problem with season 3, and this is the phenomena I'm seeing in a lot of hero stories now, is the love interest. The love interest in hero stories, the female, the femme fatale, not femme fatale sometimes, not femme fatale, but damsel in distress. The love interest of the hero, the woman love interest of the male superhero, is grossly developed, far too developed. They're taking her beyond her role as love interest and trying to make her basically another main character of the story. We got an entire episode of that Daredevil season which just basically told us Karen Page's backstory. We didn't need that at all. In fact, everything it had pretty much told us, we kind of knew from flashbacks or her talking about it in previous seasons and whatever. That's why the pacing was such an issue, and then they were off in trying to develop it into the last climax episode of the season. And the reason this need to develop the love interest and try to make her so three-dimensional and really give her a good strong story arc too, and make her kind of one of the main characters too, is because of this feminist agenda again, where we can't have her just be this woman can't just be there in service of the hero. She can't just be a love interest. That's horrible. That's sexist. We've got to give her all of these dimensions and layers, and we've got to make her do a lot of hero work too. She has to be just as strong and capable as the hero, and we've got to really go into her character in depth. That's garbage. There's nothing sexist about a love interest just being a love interest. Every non-main character in a superhero story is there to serve the main hero in terms of the story logic and whatnot. Doesn't mean that they can't have cool story arcs of their own. They, sort of like B-level plots and whatnot. They should, and they should reflect the main hero's story. Lois Lane is just Lois Lane. She's Superman's love interest. Great character of her own, absolutely. But really, Lois Lane couldn't carry a title on her own. There have been certain like little mini series or like just or some issues or whatever that to follow her or whatever, but they're contained, right? No one's ever thinking that this is going to be a thing now, But what are they trying to do now? What is the nonsense lady who's behind the She-Ra? She's doing a Lois Lane centric cartoon because that's what we need. That's what the kids want. Ridiculous. And the Spider-Man show, the Spider-Man video game is an ideal example of this. Nobody, and I mean nobody, who's a real Spider-Man fan picks up that Spider-Man game saying, I hope we can play as Mary Jane. First of all, it's not even Mary Jane Watson that you get. It's a rip-off Lois Lane version of Mary Jane Watson, who's so light years away from ever being a model or anything like that. Oh, that's so problematic. No, she's strong, she's independent, she's fierce, she's a reporter, and she's investigative, and she's all these kinds of things. In the course of the gameplay, how dare Peter think something is too dangerous for her to do? How dare, that's so sexist and misogynist of you, Peter, to dare say that I shouldn't go infiltrate that street gang's lair and look into things because I don't have superpowers. No, it's actually very smart, you idiot. And then the video game makes you. it makes you play as Mary Jane sneaking into this warehouse or whatever. Mary Jane Watson has no flipping business whatsoever doing any of that. And people might say, well, Lois Lane does it. Yeah, Lois Lane does it, and then always needs to be rescued because of it. That's part of that story. That's the classic damsel in distress Lois Lane story. She's not helpless. She's full of strength and all of that, but she can't do it without Superman at all. And in the modern movement for love interest in superhero stories, it's not enough. It's not enough that they demand uh, female superhero stories just as much and just as as whatever as the male superhero stories. But now they're even trying to let the love interests in superhero stories subsume the superhero. It's ridiculous. Mary Jane's not a hero. She's a love interest. She has no business going in and doing the hero work. And it's horrible. Like, Peter is really kind of cucked in that game a bit too. I'm sorry to people who really love the game, because I like the game too. I really like the gameplay. It's glorious just to feel like you're Spider-Man swinging through the city. It's wonderful. Peter's cucked pretty hard at the end of this game, in the colloquial version of that phrase, because she basically, makes him admit that we are partners, and I'm just as much of a hero as you are, and don't you dare tell me I can't go and investigate this, super villain and whatnot. I can do whatever. No, you can't. You're a civilian with no powers whatsoever. You've got no business doing it. Period. And that's not sexist. That's just logic, you know. But Daredevil did a little bit of this with Karen Page, not to the level of where it ruined the series or anything, but you can see that the same phenomena, the same, need to develop the love interest beyond their restraints of what they should be. You could see that in season 3 as well. Lois Lane, they're doing it now with the cartoon and everything. And it's just another example of how there's no receiving a good story today, even from, hey, Tila, Masters of the Universe, Revelations. That's exactly what it did, right? Well, and people will say, what's wrong? Can't we have a good Tila story? Can't we have a good Lois? There have been great stories, like an episode that was Tila centric, or this little run that followed Lois Lane or something like that. What's wrong with that? Here's what's wrong with it. Any example you point to in which that happened and it was a good thing, it was in addition to the main character's stories already being there. If the Superman run is already dealing with Superman in iconic fashion, then yeah, you can take a few issues and explore a little Lois Lane kind of thing or whatever. You can take an episode of He-Man and explore Tila, and hey, she's got a lot to add. Her own character has a lot to add to the mythos. That's great, but only in relation to He-Man. I do not care about an Eternia in which He-Man's not there, but Tila's there. That's ridiculous. And it's absurd that Kevin Smith thought he could ask us to care about that. It's absurd that the Twitter mobs try to paint you sexist if you don't care about that. No, it's absurd. She's not the draw of the universe. It's He-Man. It's He-Man. I don't want to see a Karen Page series. Karen Page is only interesting to me through her relationship to Matt Murdock, through Daredevil. But we're seeing this over and over now. It's not enough. Like I said, it's not enough that we get these garbage movies like Captain Marvel or, X-Men with what's her name, trying to lecture Professor X. And why is he called X-Men? This is so sexist, blah, blah, blah. It's not enough that we need, to shove poorly constructed female heroes down our throat, but now they're even going into the stories which are just the male superhero stories and trying to overdevelop the love interests into characters that subsume them. Take away story time from their arcs that need to be more developed and fleshed out. And yeah, I mean, the Spider-Man video game will go down in history, I think. Is just such a ridiculous, because they've got you as a game player. They've got you. They know that you're going to come play this game because of the wonderful treatment it gives Spider-Man and the mechanics, and it's just so fun. And then when they make you play as Mary Jane, it's such a slap in the face. It is such a slap in the face. Same thing with Miles Morales. This is before he even had his powers in the game. I have no interest in playing as a civilian kid trying to sneak around a gang-controlled. No, it's not his story. It's Peter's story. Leave it alone. I haven't played the Miles Morales game or anything. I don't know how that story is, and I know some people are excited about the sequel with both of them. I've done a whole stream about that. It could have some good things, but no, the way that the industry's going, it's get ready. So, yeah, we just there's no receiving good stories today, and there's no receiving good portrayals of superhero male super. The masculinity is toxic on every level, and it will not. This is their treatment of it, right? They could not fathom doing a show like He-Man. I mean, you really should have seen it coming, um, that He-Man would of course be killed off and it'd be Teela's story, because that's what the industry's doing right now. They're not going to give you a show about a character named He-Man. Even the Netflix, I forget the specific name of that other Netflix animated series of He-Man or whatever. He's got a team around him, and he's not really the main guy. He's just one of a team. So we need good. We need good masculine energy. We need good masculine heroes again, and you can get those from independent creators. And then within that, we need the whole spectrum. We need the we need to continue to get the brutal heroes. We need Punishers and anti-heroes and stuff like that. But as I've always, been preaching on this channel, we can't forget the aspirational. We still need those in place so that any of the other ones can make sense. But it's getting to the point where you just, point out a true, unapologetically masculine hero story that's still being created today. I don't know if you can. I don't think you can. In terms of from the major companies, production companies, publications, publishers, or anything like that. Just not there. Just not there. So, Horizon Talker says we saw this. We even saw this with Black Widow. Her movie was a bait and switch to give you a less feminine femme fatale character who was totes okay with being sterile. I'll take a hard pass. Exactly. Yeah, everything that Black Widow film did to her character, I read about it. I refused to see it because I knew it was going to be like this. I mean, the writer came out and told you that she doesn't even care about the character. She just said yes so that she can preach her ideology. She came out and said that, long before the movie even came out. But yeah, everything that movie did with Black Widow was just trying to apologize for her ever being a femme fatale, for her ever being, worried about her sterility or anything. Like, we can't, motherhood, that's so passe. Women should go beyond their capacity as mothers, ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. Yeah. Nathaniel's Lozball says, just for the record, I did call that they would kill off He-Man a couple months ago. I don't remember the stream where I said it, but I called it. Oh, I don't doubt it. Yeah, I mean, yeah, plenty of people could have just read the culture and see where that was going. Absolutely. Yeah. So let me take a look at the clock here. 11. Yeah. Okay. We're, I usually go about an hour with these streams, and I'm officially right at an hour, but I'll take a look at what the chat's, doing here a little bit as a wrap up. I think I pretty much said everything I wanted to about the Babylon 5 reboot and about this tendency, this movement, this whatever, this way of trying to overdevelop love interests, get them out of just being a love interest. There's nothing wrong. Side characters exist for the hero. Foggy, that's for Daredevil season 3, for example. There is a certain level that you have to develop between both Karen and Foggy. Again, as it pertains to Matt's journey. Matt's in a difficult place in season 3 where he's trying to distance himself from his friends. And Foggy and Karen, their two different reactions to that is necessary to his story arc. But it proves how sexist, let's turn it around, how sexist it is of the season itself to privilege Karen Page so far over Foggy Nelson. She gets the episode alone about her backstory, and she gets way more scenes and way more drama than Foggy gets, that just proves it. The side characters, the allies, including the love interest, are important, but you can't develop them past their roles, or it ceases to be a superhero story, and it's a story about this woman, who's nowhere as near as interesting as the hero. Yeah. So, Matthew Flynn says, I've heard good things about the new Spawn comics. I didn't even know there were new Spawn comics. Firewatcher says, isn't Spawn gay now or a woman or something? Wouldn't be surprised. I didn't even know they were doing Spawn comics. Yeah, Edward, is there such an idea as toxic femininity? Absolutely. Now, feminists will never, ever admit to that. And they'll tell you, no, that's feminist. That's racist. Because the feminist was telling you that men can't be discriminated against. No, it's impossible. It's impossible for anybody to be racist against white people, and it's impossible for anybody to be sexist against men, because those are the oppressors and they deserve whatever they get. You know, that's CRT, that's critical race theory, how it's just ingrained itself. But no, there's absolutely toxic femininity, and it just is prevalent and ranges different many applications as an actual true toxic masculinity would, you know. But half the things they call toxic masculinity isn't really toxic masculinity. Final Fantasy fan is thank you very much to the super chat. Says a femme fatale character I always think a lot of is Poison Ivy. I agree. I really like that too until they made her agenda Poison Ivy, who's just existing for LGBT representation with Harley now. She's been ruined, in DC with that absolutely. Miguel Esposito said, didn't McFarlane said the new Spawn movie will be progressive? Yeah, I don't know. I don't follow that. Never really been a huge major Spawn fan, but it wouldn't surprise me. That doesn't surprise me at all. Yeah. And that McFarlane of all people, really? I mean, it's just kind of like, et tu, Brute? Et tu Straczynski? Just all these people that you followed who were so instrumental in giving you these wonderful, iconic stories for your own development and for culture's development are now that the industry's allowing them to, showing their real faces and just, totally flipping the lid and making it about ideology. Garbage. And the only way it'll go away is if people turn their back on it. Stop caring about it. Stop caring about Spawn or Mario or whatever. In terms of the new iterations, I mean, obviously, always cling to the wonderful stuff that you've been given in the past. You never, you can never, they can never take that away from you, ever. And it's so much out there, as I've said, it's been my mantra on this channel. Don't tell me, well, I need new stories. No, you don't. You have not in any way watched every good story that's been out there. And even if you've watched every, a lot of the EU fans, for example, I always say I'm kind of really blessed by the fact that I didn't get into the EU until quite recently, because I've still got wonderful Star Wars years of entertainment ahead of me that's new to me. But even EU fans who've read it all, like, sorry, I know you as Alec, but I know you got a different name in the chat right now. Edward here, is one of the EU aficionados that kind of helps me and guides me, when I have questions or whatever. Matt Wilkins and so forth as well. Still, even you guys, I know from my conversations with Edward here, having read just about everything in the EU ever, there's so much that you can still go back to something you haven't read in a while, and it's almost like watching it new. I'm excited about eventually Sound Engraver and I were going through the MCU classic before the downfall of it. So one of the things, and that includes the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which we're really enjoying. But one of these days we're going to watch, she wants to watch Stargate with me. And I haven't watched Stargate all the way through since it was airing, basically. I'm really looking forward to that again. Even though I remember the arc, it's going to be such a joy to relive all those story arcs and episodes again. And not to mention things you never got into, comics, video games, movies, or whatever. You don't need new content. You need to stop needing the rush of the conversation on Twitter and YouTube about it and the hashtags and whatnot. Go enjoy the stuff that's there, and then create new stuff either on your own or support new stuff that's being created by other independent creators who do understand and recognize good story. So all right, well, I am definitely starting to run down my energy. So I'm going to wrap up here in a second. Elijah Brown said, these betrayals don't surprise me anymore, like Larry Hama. Yeah. I remember reading about that. And it just goes to show that the creators, the writers, the actual content or IP creators, and then the writers and implementers or whatever, in the day, they weren't the reasons why this all remained iconic. They were part of it, absolutely part of it. But the editors that they had, the censors, yes, I even said that word, censors, editors, and all these people were part of what strained out their nonsense and just gave us the good story. Or the fact that these writers knew that if they tried to put any of that nonsense in, it would be strained out. So they kept a story, because now we're living in a day where all of those all those blinders, all those partitions, all restraints have been removed in every way. And look at the drivel that we're getting. It's garbage. So all right. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up now, guys. But let's see. The stuff that's coming up Tuesday night, if you're a Tolkien fan, over on my Catholic Bible Geek channel, we are returning to the book studies of the Tolkien verse. We ended with Fellowship of the Ring, and then we took a break for a while. But Tuesday night, we're picking that up over on my Catholic Bible Geek channel. It's a religious channel talk about Bible studies and Catholic stuff and whatnot, but we do book studies as well. We did the Narnia, and we've done a lot of Tolkien, and we're working through Middle Earth now. So that's Tuesday night. Thursday night back here, we just finished up last night a wonderfully fun study of the Darth Bane trilogy. We were having a great time, and we got through all 3 books of the Darth Bane trilogy, because my book studies on this channel right now are really trying to delve into the EU and just promote it, keep it in front of people's eyes, keep people reminded of how great it is, trying to turn on new people to it, draw people back to it, and so forth. I'm taking a little short break from that, though, in the month of October, because the last 2 years in October, I've done Ray Bradbury stories. I love Ray Bradbury. We did the Halloween Tree. We did Something Wicked This Way Comes. And this year, we're going to do From the Dust Returned, right here. From the Dust Returned. It's we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to do the first 8 chapters on this coming Thursday. And I've got a link to where you can get this book in the description of the book study last night, but when I go back and edit this description, I'll put the link in this description as well, for people who want a copy. It's, it's pretty cheap, paperback or whatever, but you can do that, or you can look up, I think you can just search it in YouTube, but there is a complete audio version of it read by John Glover, which is quite good. It's available for free on YouTube right now. I don't know if it's supposed to be available for free, but download it before they take it down. That's another way you could follow along with us if you want. That'll be fun for October. After October, we're going to return to the EU. I think the consensus is that we're going to do Allegiance by Timothy Zahn for November. Eventually, we're working to do Darth Plagueis. The reason I'm doing Allegiance is because it's got some more Mara Jade stuff. I'm ultimately wanting to work towards the Hand of Thrawn duology to tell the story of Luke and Mara, some more, because we went through the Thrawn trilogy itself, and that was great. So yeah, we're going to start working towards that, but we're not going in any kind of necessarily hard and fast chronological order. We're going to go back and do Old Republic stuff too, and everything here and there, dab and miss. We did Red Harvest, which was fun. Probably should have saved that for October, but I knew I wanted to do the Ray Bradbury, so plenty of good stuff there. So yeah, November Allegiance, and Ghost of Tatooine's another great one I want to do eventually. I know some people got some major proponents of that and whatnot. So that's what's coming up on my channel. And then next Friday night, hopefully I'll have a good stream again, a good topic or whatever for this. I will cut up this stream and release it as 2 separate videos, one on the Babylon 5 stuff and one on the love interest thing. But on Sound Engraver's channel, she is now returned. She is now done with all traveling. She's settled in now here with me, which is awesome, in my area, so no longer a distance thing. And she's all settled in now to be able to do the live streams again. So every Monday night, Sound Engraver's channel, she's going to return to her live streams. I think about 9:30ish, 10ish is when she starts or whatever. I don't know, but she says her topic will be a little political, involving my old music school. Yeah, she's got a really cool topic about nature of academia and stuff like that with some of this nonsense that's going on. So it'll be a good stream there. Yeah. And Fanman is supposed to have some good Halloween content coming. He's been super busy, and he's not going to be doing things as regular, but I can't see him letting October go, because he is the Halloween man, So there's that. Al's still doing his rewatches on Saturdays, but Big Al's been doing really cool little reviews on his channel too. Now he does reviews of new movies, which I roll my eyes at. Not because the reviews are quite good that he does, but I'm just like, dude, stop giving that stuff attention. But he does retro reviews, which are really cool. He picks some of these old movies, like old gems. So if you're thinking about watching old stuff and you want to look for some stuff that you might have missed or whatever, he's actually finding some cool stuff, and he does retro reviews too. So he's finally releasing more short videos. So definitely check that out. Owen Lister says, I plan on doing more coloring from art. Yeah, Owen Lister's working on his own property, which is great. Horizon Talker says, is she from the dust returned? Oh, you're talking about because I said Sound Engraver's returned to me now. Yeah, I gotcha. I see your little drum kick there. Yeah, so 9:30 p.m. Sound Engraver says. Tom Spiegel says, all this time I've been asking Prof to do a Tatooine ghost, and now he wants to do Ghost of Tatooine. I can't wait. Tatooine ghost. Sorry, Ghost of Tatooine. Are they 2 different things? I thought it was just one. Am I just getting the title wrong? Is that what you're making fun of me on? I think so. I don't know. It's late. but no, I knew somebody was constantly reminding me about that title, and I guess that was you, Tom Spiegel. But it's a good story. It's a good book, and it'll be a good one for us to do at some point. So yeah, that's in the queue too. It's in the pipeline. No worries. Yeah, well, Lister, I've got a Halloween playlist too. Sound Engraver's heard it a couple times. Sound Engraver and I and Alyssa went to the pumpkin patch today with Alyssa for the first day of October. Going to the pumpkin patch, it was great. Got a huge, tall pumpkin. I've been doing these. Maybe I'll share them really quick before I get off. Maybe that's one thing I'll do to end. I love carving jack o' lanterns, and I'm decent at it. I'm not like one of the pros you see on TV or whatever, but I'm pretty decent at it. And I've got a list of or an album rather of some of the cool ones I've done over the years. So I'll take you through and show you, and I'll show you some of the ones I've done this year as well. Let me share the screen here. But I did Skeletor. I did a really cool Skeletor jack-o'-lantern the other day. You'll see it here in a moment. And I found a really cool template to do a Beastman. And I was trying to do it the other day. Sound Engraver and she was sitting next to me as I was trying to do it. And it needs to be a tall pumpkin because you got to have room for the beard and everything like that, And, yeah, you could shrink it down in proportion, but it just needs to be big. That's my artistic, my muse talking. It just needs to be a big pumpkin, a good big canvas. So we got a really tall, wonderfully tall pumpkin at the patch today, which is going to be good for that. So pictures to come of that. Here's a Spider-Man one I did. Make sure that's coming through okay. Yep, there we go. There's a Spider-Man one I did one year. That was cool. Everyone's got to do a Jack Skellington, from Nightmare Before Christmas. Maleficent, the real Maleficent, that was a lot of fun. Batman, of course, can't go wrong with Batman. Mike Wazowski from Monsters Inc. Mickey, because good classic Mickey. Cheshire Cat, that's a good one. I like that because I like doing templates where the shape of the pumpkin itself really is well suited to the face. That came out pretty well. It's Tinkerbell for Alyssa. Sort of see it, Oogie Boogie from Nightmare Before Christmas. That one came out pretty well. Pretty proud of that one. That was good. This I did for Sound Engraver this year. This is Boo, the ghost from the Mario games. I'm watching her play those with the ghosts and everything. They're hilarious. So I did a ghost from there. That's my Skeletor. Really, really proud of that. I'm so excited about how that came out. That was really good. Really good. I like that one. So I'm going to do a Beastman to put up there next to that in picture. That's going to be fun. That was Vampirina from Disney Junior for Alyssa. That's Mr. Hyde. Some people didn't see that right away. It's Mr. Hyde holding up the little flask in front of his eye because we were doing the book study of Jekyll and Hyde a few years ago during Halloween. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that carving too. I think it came up pretty. I really like the look of it, but I guess it's one of those that's a little harder for people to get right away without knowing what it is. But that's cool. The one and only Mr. Alice Cooper himself, shock rocker extraordinaire. Definitely that. Darth Maul. This was from last year. Or this was from this year, rather. Darth Maul. They had some templates with the horns and everything. And when I do it, I'll look at a template that's made for a jack-o'-lantern, and then I'll kind of just freeform draw it on the pumpkin and make my own little adaptations, and then I carve it out. I know some of them are like stencils. I don't even get how a stencil could work. How do you even like shape that on the pumpkin, the uneven surface and everything? I don't get that. But I like this one because it's like Maul with the cloak over his head. That was pretty cool. And this was the most recent one, Joker, I did the other day. So I think that's all. Yeah, that's all. But that was fun. So more to come. I'll show you the Beastman one when I finally get it carved this coming week at some point. That'll be fun. It's going to look pretty cool, I think, especially with the light inside and everything. So back just to say goodbye to everybody. Oh, Tom Spiegel's, yeah, you're making fun of me. Okay, I got the title wrong. Sorry. But be encouraged because that book is on my radar, definitely. Owen Lister said my playlist includes Michael Jackson's Thriller. Yep, Ghostbusters, got that on there too. I don't really do the Iron Maiden or Judas Priest, but Danny Elfman, Alice Cooper, yep. I really love, for Halloween music, I love the old songs like the old Monster Mash. I like the old Monster Mash, but songs like that, like riboflavin flavored, non-carbonated, polyunsaturated blood. That one's great. Dracula's Deuce, the old UFO invasion songs and whatnot. I like a lot of those, as well as like Feed My Frankenstein and all that great stuff too. Oh, Sound Engraver says my man is so talented. Yep, she's my biggest fan. Definitely. So, all right, guys. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and tap out now. Thanks for hanging out with me. Appreciated your comments and everything. Sorry I couldn't read everybody's. Obviously, it's just couldn't couldn't do that with everybody here commenting, but I love to see how engaged you guys were, talking to each other and to me as well. So yeah, I'll be back this week. Content from this stream put out, and then I'll be back for the other streams. So come back for all of that. In the meantime, stick around for these other fine YouTubers and their content. But until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the real, true, iconic hero stories you love. Thanks for watching.